So today, we're going to break down one of the most critical skills in all of electronics, printed circuit board design. We're going to walk through the entire professional workflow step by step to show you exactly how a simple idea gets engineered into a real physical device. Let's dive right in.
You look at a board like this, and it might seem like a chaotic city of copper and components. But I promise you, it's not magic. It's actually the result of a really structured, methodical engineering process. Every single gadget you use, your phone, your laptop, it all started with a board just like this. And we're going to follow the exact path engineers take to create it. On a really high level, the journey for any electronic product is pretty much always the same. It starts with an idea, which gets translated into a logical circuit diagram. And then comes the really crucial step. That circuit gets transformed into a physical printed circuit board, or PCB. That board is the foundation that turns an electronic blueprint into a product that actually works.
Okay, so to make sense of all this, we've broken the whole process down into 5 clear phases. First, we'll create the electronic recipe. Then, we'll define the physical rules for our board. After that, we'll build it digitally, check our work, and finally, get it ready for the real world.
First things first, we've got to get the idea out of our heads and onto a formal blueprint. This is all about translating those abstract requirements into a language that both engineers and, well, computers can understand.
Before you even dream of opening up any design software, you have to define the requirements. What is this thing supposed to do? How much power does it need? Is it going to be outside in the rain or in a nice, climate-controlled room? Answering these questions right up front is probably the single most important thing you can do to avoid some really costly mistakes later on.
With our goals defined, we create the schematic. And you can really think of this as the language of electronics. On the left here, you've got the basic symbols. That's kind of like the alphabet. And on the right is the complete diagram. That's the sentence. The schematic shows us the logical connections. It tells us what connects to what. But it doesn't tell us a thing about the physical layout. Not yet.
And this is such a critical transition point. A symbol in the schematic is just an idea, right? To make it real, every single one of those symbols has to be linked to a physical footprint. That's the pattern of copper pads where the component will actually be soldered down. This is our first major step from the logical world into the physical one.
All right, so we've got our logical plan. Now we need to define the physical world our circuit is going to live in. We have to set the rules of the road for all of our electrons. And that starts with the PCB stack-up. A really simple board might just have 2 layers of copper, but a complex device, like a smartphone, that could have 10 or even more layers, all stacked up like a lasagna. Deciding on the number of layers, their thickness, the materials, that's a huge engineering decision that's all about balancing complexity, performance, and of course, cost.
Next, we define the design rules inside our software. Think of these like automated city building codes for our board. We set minimum trace widths so they can handle the current without overheating, kind of like how roads need to be wide enough for traffic. We define minimum clearances to prevent short circuits, just like buildings can't be too close. These rules will actively check our work as we go, flagging any violations.
All right, the foundation is set and the rules are in place. Now for the really fun part. We import our schematic and start to construct the actual board in the digital world.
The very first step is component placement, and it's part science, part strategic puzzle. The goal is to group related components into these little functional blocks, keeping the signal paths short to maintain signal integrity and cut down on noise. For example, those little decoupling capacitors, they have to be placed as close as possible to an IC's power pins to give it a clean, local source of energy. I'm telling you, good placement makes the rest of the job so much easier. Once everything is placed, we start routing. This is where we draw the physical copper paths, the traces that bring all those connections from our schematic to life. We're literally connecting the dots, turning that logical diagram into a physical reality.
But what if a connection needs to go from the top layer to, say, an inner layer? Well, for that, we use something called a via. It's really simple. It's just a small copper-plated hole that acts like an elevator for the electrical signal, letting it travel between the different floors of our PCB.
So here's a really detailed look at how that via works. You can see a trace on the top layer connects down to a trace on an inner layer. But notice how the via passes right through those power and ground planes, but it has a clearance around it. We call that an antipad, to stop any short circuits. It's a really elegant solution for building these complex, multi-layered circuits.
Okay, so our board is placed and routed. It looks finished, right? But sending it to the factory right now would be a huge mistake.
This next phase is all about verification, catching our errors digitally, where they're free to fix, before they become really expensive physical paperweights. We use two main automated checks. First is the design rule check, or DRC. It's looking for physical problems. It's asking, is this board even manufacturable? Are these traces way too close? Then we run the electrical rule check, or ERC, which validates the logical connections against our schematic. It asks, does this layout actually match the blueprint? Did I accidentally connect an output to another output?
But software can only get you so far. After all the automated checks pass, a final, manual review by an engineer is absolutely non-negotiable. This is where experience really kicks in. We visually inspect those critical signal paths, we double-check the component placement, and we ask the most important question of all. Does this design just make practical sense?
With our design double and triple checked, we've finally reached the last phase. It's time to package up our digital blueprint into a set of instructions that a factory can actually use to build our board. And this is a very practical step. We literally go to the Export or Fabrication Outputs menu in our design software. From there, we generate a set of files. The two most important ones are the Gerber files, which describe all the copper layers, and the drill files, which tell the machines exactly where to drill every single hole.
So once the factory gets these files, they start the physical process. They use our Gerber files to etch the copper patterns onto each layer. They use our drill files to create all the holes, then they apply that protective solder mask, and after a final inspection, boom, our digital design has become a real, tangible circuit board.
So we've gone from a simple idea all the way to a set of manufacturing files. After seeing this whole journey, what's the one thing you should really take away from all of this?
It's this. A finished PCB is just engineering decisions made visible. It is not a random collection of parts. The width of a trace, the placement of a tiny capacitor, the number of layers, every single one of those elements is the physical result of a deliberate engineering decision that was made, balancing cost, performance, and reliability.
And that is why this all matters. A successful design isn't about one single brilliant move. It's about a methodical, step-by-step process. It's where that careful planning and precision at every single stage adds up to create a product that doesn't just work, but works reliably every single